There's a story about an odd-looking fellow by the name of Humpty Dumpty. I guess you could say that he was an egg amongst men. And the story goes that one day Humpty Dumpty is sitting on a wall, and Humpty Dumpty for some reason has a great fall. And as word spreads around town that this egg has fallen off this wall, all the king's horses and all the king's men come rushing, trying to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. But as the yolk of life began to ooze out of this shattered egg's body, his shell, the king's men realized that Humpty Dumpty was gone. Not only had Humpty killed himself, but he killed the yolk that his shell protected. There was a handwritten note that was discovered at the scene. Basically, it was a suicide letter from Humpty Dumpty, and Humpty had written how much he had hated his life, how he felt like he would never have a normal existence, how he felt outcasted, like he just could not fit in any crowd or any group. My question for you today is, what do you see when you look in the mirror? Do you see an outcast? Do you see someone who will never fit in with the group, with the crowd? Or have you gotten to the point where you basically have stopped looking in the mirror altogether because it's too hard? You see, Humpty Dumpty did not realize that it wasn't just about him, but it was about what he had inside. And that his shell was specifically created for him to protect the purpose, the yolk that he had inside. The other thing that Humpty Dumpty didn't realize was that his life was so treasured in that country that the king himself sent his own men, his own horses, rushing out to try and save Humpty's life. But Humpty isn't here anymore. But you are. And you're here for a reason, for a purpose. I would encourage you to do 3 things, realizing that you are here for a purpose. The first thing is discover it. Discover what is the yolk that you have inside. What is it that makes you special? What is your purpose? Second thing, own it. Accept the fact that you are carrying something special, that you do have a yolk, that you do have a purpose. And don't let anybody ever convince you that it's worthless. The last thing, create it. Do whatever you have to do to see that purpose fulfilled, to see that yolk hatched. God tells us in 2 Samuel 16:7 that he doesn't look at the things that man looks at. Man looks at appearance. Man looks at characteristics. Man looks at whether or not you look the part. God doesn't look at that. God looks at what's inside. God looks at the heart. God knows what's inside of you. He put it inside of you. So the thing is, you've got to discover it. You've got to own it. You've got to create it. And remember, regardless of what you've been through, regardless of what people have said about you, regardless of what's been done to you, regardless of how differently you think from other people, remember, you have a purpose, and your shell was designed specifically for you. And remember, at the end of the day, the king thinks you're special. This is Garvanne saying, stay encouraged.